Hey everybody, it is Remarcus Steele, aka Vigilante, and today we are doing a joint podcast on the High Value Sigma Male podcast. I am also joined with my co-host,
Miss Kia Waters. I'm the host of the Royalty Room Creator Studio, and I'm here with Vigilante, and we're definitely so excited to interview Commissioner Ted Terry.
without further ado, introduce yourself, Mr. Ted Terry.
Yeah, awesome to be here. Thank you all so much for coming into the uh, DeKalb County Government Building today and just being here to talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. The government is the government of the people, so I'm glad that we can have this moment to talk with you and through you with the people that I and others represent.
Perfect, thank you. This is a beautiful building too. Everybody here is so nice.
Yes.
Yeah,
We
thank
don't
you.
have
Thank you.
any complaints at all from the parking lot. to
Good.
the
All right.
setup. Kelly is
Security
the
took care of
greatest.
you.
Yeah, security
Yes.
took care of us.
Yeah.
Everybody's nice. It's very rare when I go places that I can say that everybody has a great attitude, especially this early in the morning.
Yes, we've had our coffee, but DeKalb County is a welcoming county, so we welcome all, and glad we could roll out the welcome mat for y'all today.
Thank you. Well, first I want to congratulate you on decriminalizing marijuana in Clarkston. I want to thank you for that, and I want to congratulate you for that as well. And then I also want to ask you, how close are you to duplicating that same effort here?
Absolutely, yeah, and back then I think that was like 2016, and that was when I was mayor of Clarkston. We were the first city in Georgia to decriminalize marijuana, made it a ticket-only offense, and so the idea was you got, I think it was like a $75 ticket, right? But no incarceration, no record, is akin more to a ticket, not a misdemeanor. And so that was like one small step that we could do as a small city. The great thing since that time, we sort of opened up the potential by kind of reading the law, right? We just were clever with the law, and it opened up more cities around Georgia to embrace that policy that said cities, not counties, but cities could create their own fine structure for just simple possession of marijuana under 1 ounce. And so I'm proud to say that after Clarkston passed it, Atlanta passed it, Athens, Augusta, Savannah, several cities in DeKalb County. So at this point, we're close to over 1 million people living in those cities that have, sort of a very low, a little bit of protection. It's not perfect, right? We're still living in a state that considers marijuana use to be a crime. And all that comes with it. And so what we're working on right now at the legislature is asking the legislators under the Gold Dome to allow county governments to have the same ability to lower the fine and the punishment for just simple possession. So right now we can't do it. DeKalb County is under the state court system, and so we have to follow the state court rule. That means that our Solicitor General has to still prosecute.
Right.
Now the good news is that Donna Colvin Stribling, our solicitor, almost never fully prosecutes in a incarceration manner simple possession, but still they have to kind of go through the process,
Right. It's process.
which is bureaucratic. It does create a little bit the potential for at least a record or some sort of probationary period. So what we'd like to do is just sort of get away from that whole carceral state system, recognize a nonviolent crime like that shouldn't be punished with excessive fines and jail time and a record, of course.
Gotcha.
I completely agree. And again, thank you so much for decriminalizing marijuana in Clarkston. And here in Atlanta, DeKalb, I work with artists and entrepreneurs in the entertainment industry, and I know that marijuana is used as a sense of, to relax, and to just,
Absolutely.
to enjoy themselves, and some even medicinal,
Yes.
and, them having to look at, possibly being incarcerated or fined excessively is, just something that they shouldn't have to, deal with when they're just wanting to enjoy their life,
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate your efforts, and I do hope that changes.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that aspect of it, because several years ago when I was still mayor, I had a forum in the city of South Fulton with Mayor Khalid, and we had really a town hall with his city, and they were at the same time were looking at the same decriminalization, and we had several veterans who were there who had served in Iraq and Afghanistan, who had PTSD, who had complications from being in that war. and they just shared the story of basically if they weren't able to have some level of CBD THC combo, couldn't sleep, couldn't do their job, were in tremendous pain, and so one person's decriminalization is another person's medical lifeline to be able to exist. And so one of the things I think I personally see us moving forward to in Georgia, which I see the policy changing a little bit. Now we have medical marijuana, low THC, right? But hopefully that opens up the door for a true medical marijuana state where doctors and clinicians and the experts can really work with each patient, each resident to figure out what's the right dosage or mix for them to treat their issue, and quit treating it like some sort of stigma or some addiction or like a moral failing. And we know, look, I mean, the prescription drugs, I mean, that's, to me, that is sort of the real crisis, because you talk about illegal drug dealers. Well, we got legal drug dealers in this country, whether they're talking about Purdue Pharma or the opioids that have killed thousands and thousands more people than cannabis. And so I think the quicker that we get to descheduling cannabis, get it into the realm of medicinal and decriminalization, the better we're going to be as a society. Our jails are going to be less crowded.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to tell you right now, we spend a lot of money on the jailing system. Our budget right now in DeKalb County is approaching $100 million a year.
For nonviolent offenders.
Yeah, just for the whole system. And so any way we can divert and redirect folks out of the carceral system, the more money it's going to save us as a government, the more lives it's going to help.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for the people that are or were incarcerated, when the deal was passed, were their offense overturned?
So the no, because basically that has to be a state law. Yeah, anything that's a state like misdemeanor violation in the past has to be sort of wiped clean, basically. Now the good news, in states that have advanced recreational medical marijuana, they have done expungement statutes going back decades. So I hope that if Georgia gets to a place where we can allow legal and medicinal and decriminalization, that there would be some recognition that either there's restitution or just complete expungement, so that those folks don't have that on their record, which, I mean, even today, even though we in DeKalb, as an example, don't do the what we call ban the box, we don't require you have to have that background check at the beginning. It's still part of the application process for a lot of jobs, and it becomes this sort of weed out, no pun intended. And a lot of people just don't get actual jobs they're qualified for because something happened years ago that was nonviolent and really shouldn't be on their record.
Shouldn't be on the record at all. Yeah. Beautiful explanation. But that was a perfect segue for the next one. I know that one of the 3 pillars that you operate on is police reform. Yes. And I want to know what some of your plans moving forward with that is.
Absolutely. So right now, and this is going back to, and I was an organizer for Barack Obama in 2008 here in Georgia, 2007, 2008, worked for the Democratic Party. And one of the things that we campaigned on here in Georgia back when Obama first ran was this idea of police reform. And so when President Obama came into office in 2009, he put together this 21st Century Policing Task Force. And it laid out all of these reforms in the criminal justice system. And one of them, and subsequent years later, was to create more civilian oversight of police. And so, and this is really relates to the day-to-day complaints. So nothing that would be in the realm of the district attorney. So if there was a police shooting or a killing, that would still be in the realm of the district attorney. But all the things that are sort of below that, aggressive behavior, insubordination, citizen complaints, excessive force, sometimes those things don't rise to the level of a crime, but they need to have appropriate oversight. So what I've introduced here in DeKalb County is the creation of a civilian police review board. essence.
Oh,
And
wow.
and
Yeah.
Atlanta has had one for about 15, maybe 20 years now. It's been in place for quite a while. And Athens, Clark County just created one a year ago, and they're just getting off to the start. But other than that, no other jurisdiction that we know of in Georgia has a police oversight board. It turns out there's like 5 different models and levels of authority. One from just being a very basic, oh, we'll take complaints and we'll hear reviews, but no power.
Power, yeah.
Right.
All the way up to you can have a police review board that's independent, has a prosecutor, an investigator, an auditor. So there's like these scales of oversight. And so what we're planning to do over the next 6 months or so is look at the Atlanta model, look at the Athens Clark County model, or 2 different sort of models, as well as the models that are out there around the country. And find one that's going to work best for the current situation with DeKalb. Because, right now, DeKalb police only cover unincorporated DeKalb County. Every city has their own police department, except for Tucker and Stonecrest. They still have DeKalb Police Services.
DeKalb Police, yeah.
So we can't change policing for all of DeKalb, but we can do it for the part that we control.
Right.
Okay.
And the goal really is, quite frankly, what we hear often is that these civilian review boards actually enhance policing, good policing.
Good policing.
Because there is this idea out there that when you create a culture that is transparent, that has oversight, that is filled with individuals who are 100% committed to doing the right thing all the time, even when no one's looking, regardless of being a body camera present or not, that you create a culture where people want to come to that department. And so what we want, and we believe in DeKalb County that our culture is a good one, that that is a great place to be a police officer, that our officers are compassionate and focused on doing what's right, but things happen. And so we want to give confidence to the public they serve that if anything did happen, that there's a way for there to be an independent oversight, just to make sure that we're not going down the wrong path, and leading to something that could be worse in the future.
100%. Did you have something you want to add to that?
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a lot.
It was, and when you were talking about like the friendly policing, I was thinking about how when the police used to come and play basketball with the children. I want to say like in the early '80s and the '70s, and so much has changed with between drugs coming into the communities and violence increasing, and the policemen overall have been looked upon differently, unfortunately, because there's just been so many incidents of police brutality. So I do want to bring that back, that friendly, policeman. I really love that you're bringing that back, with the committee, with the oversight. I think that the Civilian Oversight Committee will definitely make a change for the better for DeKalb. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, and we do basketball.
Oh, you know.
Oh, they do. Okay, that's perfect.
So that is that's called the Police Athletic League.
Okay.
The PAL program.
The PAL program.
And we actually call it PAL Plus because it's not just basketball. It is swim lessons.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
It is leadership training. It's mentorship. It's field trips. And so we have a whole unit. I think at this point we have like 8 officers, and like 3 civilians, and between myself and other commissioners and CEO Thurman, we've put in probably about $2 million the last 3 years into expanding the PAL program. So we're doing midnight basketball leagues, but it's not just like go play basketball. It's before you play basketball, it is have a speaker come in, have kind of like a little mini town hall. Like when I was mayor, we did it at the Clarkston First Baptist Church over the summer for about 3 months. And so we'd bring in speakers. I'd come in every year, and we would just talk to the young people. And one of the things that's really moving about that world is that there's so many things out there in the world that are beyond the control of a police officer. So often we're asking police to respond to all the problems that are going on in society, and we give them limited tools. And so what I hear from our officers is that the PAL program allows them to disengage from being enforcers and then being community servants. And so they are there to get to know the young people. We're talking about ages 16 up to like 22, 23. A time period where that demographic age range is where the highest gun deaths are occurring, incarceration is occurring. And, every once in a while, and I remember this when I was mayor, that we, would interact with young people, and then, at one point, a young man didn't come back because he was killed in gun violence. And so, we try our best to support these young people, but there's so many things happening in the world that aren't necessarily their fault or something the police can deal with in that moment. And so that's why it's so important that when we look at public safety, policing, that we're taking an all of the above approach.
Right.
We need to address economic inequality. We need to address educational disparities. We need to recognize that some individuals live in apartment complexes where slumlords are running them, and they live in
100%.
horrible, deplorable conditions, that we're not providing folks coming out of being formerly incarcerated into something that allows them to have a job that actually pays a living wage and has benefits. And so we're not going to solve crime by just arresting people.
Right.
We're not going to solve crime just by having a couple basketball programs.
Right.
It has to be this all-in approach. So I'm committed to looking at a progressive way at looking at policing. We spend a lot of money on policing. And when I look at the idea of expanding police funding, or what's happening in Southwest DeKalb about Cop City, millions of dollars are going into these facilities that are for police, and that's Atlanta has their plan. They're doing that. What I want to see is commiserate investment. When we're investing more in enforcement, we need to be spending as much on education, after school programs, early learning programs, mental health programs. So we're not just seeing, the only way to stop crime is just more police in the street arresting people.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've been doing for the last 40, 50 years.
Right.
And it doesn't feel, even though we are a little bit safer than maybe we were, just statistically speaking, there's still so much inequality and inequity out there, and there's a disproportionate impact on mostly Black and brown residents, and that has to change. We have to course correct and do something different.
Not 100%.
I
completely agree.
Yeah, economic disparities, and just like you said, inmates, coming home without education and resources, it leads to more crime, unfortunately, because they're desperate. They don't have anything, and they need to survive. And unfortunately, that again puts them back into the system. And so I really appreciate you putting that out there, and making these events so that the police can connect with the community and see them as a people who have problems, and and want to help to solve them.
Absolutely. I'm gonna share a short story with you. When I was a Cobb County resident during 2020, around the time where there was a lot of racial injustices going on, back to back to back to back to back, I decided to set up a meeting with the police chief, and I had no idea who he was. I just set the meeting up, and when I went up there, my girlfriend at the time, she did not want me to get out of the car. She was very uneasy about me going into that police station because she didn't know whether I was going to come back out.
I can imagine around that time.
I told her that whatever happens has to be what happens. I can't sit by any longer and not do anything.
Yeah.
So I went inside there and I had my meeting with him. It was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting. It turned into a 2-hour conversation with him, the deputy chief, the lieutenant, the sergeant. It was supposed to just be me and him, but the conversation lasted so long, and they were wondering why we were in there for so long, and they kind of joined the conversation as we were going. And I had notes, and in the first 5 minutes of the conversation, I brought the notes up, and I just wanted to talk to him, human being to human being.
Yeah.
And I realized that he wasn't a bad person. He just operated behind a desk, and he kind of just lost his way with the people, and he was kind of disconnected a little bit from what I picked up from him. And I remember 4 days later, they printed a publication of our conversation in the Cobb County newspaper.
Oh yeah.
And he actually got all of his officers in front of the precinct, and he did a speech about there would be no more injustice, no more racial profiling, no more any of that. And if any officers have a problem with it, you can leave now. And I know that all sprung from the conversation that we had. So
That's
that
amazing.
That's powerful.
So I'm just
Awesome.
happy to hear about.
Well, thank you for saying something.
Yes.
That means a lot of courage to do that.
Yeah.
Advocacy works.
Yes, it does.
And if you don't, I always tell people in politics, if you don't ask, you won't receive.
That's true.
100%.
And someone could say no, but in our line of work, especially public servants, whether it's police chiefs or officers or politicians, I genuinely believe that most of us are here to serve the public. But if they don't hear from the public, they might think, oh, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's
you
true.
and others saying something, whether it's going back to actually marching and protesting, and also doing that, let's just sit down and talk,
Right.
it makes a difference. And you're right. Sometimes, I mean, I'll be honest, like we're on the 5th floor of the Maloof building. You know, we're in one of the tallest buildings in Decatur. We can be in our Ivy Tower
Right.
and not know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I find that when we go down to the people,
Town
be with the
halls.
people, understand and work with the people,
Yes.
that we will know what's going on. And we're tasked with trying to help solve those problems. But if we don't know there's problems, we might think everything's great. We'll go home.
100%. Yes, 100%. I wanted you to dive a little bit deeper into the is it POW program?
Oh, Police Athletic League.
Yes,
Yeah, the
into that
PAL.
program and how people in the community can get involved and support it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So we have the DeKalb PAL program, Police Athletic League, and I'll probably have to give you like a link or something that we can share.
Gotcha.
But you can just Google it, and so honestly, like if you know a young person that could use that program, it's for those young people who are struggling. Quite frankly, some of us in DeKalb County are privileged to have after-school programs and have mentors already and have places to go. It is designed for young people who don't have a place to go.
Gotcha.
I mean, in essence, it is an after-school program. It is a summer school program. It is a winter break program. It's a year-round program. So we certainly take referrals if there's particular schools or neighborhoods or apartment complexes where folks think that our PAL program should be focusing. They can just email me and we can connect them with Detective Ricketts, and we can make those connections. And I want to see the PAL program double and triple.
Right.
To me, if because we have right now the force of getting close to about 600 plus officers, sort of across the command structure from patrol all the way up to chief.
Yeah.
And so to me, like, expanding out our PAL program is a way that we can enhance our public safety,
Yes.
give our officers more things to do than just responding to 911 calls,
Yeah.
right? Which is kind of like, that's the main job, right? Someone calls 911, there's an emergency, folks expect someone to show up.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of that, though, we got to create that investment so that those future 911 calls
Right.
aren't the ones that are going to be as dangerous or deadly or as severe, and maybe they can be responded to, whether it's with our new mental health crisis response team. We just launched, Chief Ramos actually just launched earlier this year with the DeKalb Community Service Board, our first and really the state's first crisis response unit, 100% full-time crisis response. So it's 4 officers, 4 clinicians, interactions with social workers and other community navigators, and all they do is respond to calls where someone is having a crisis. And it runs the gamut. And I'm proud to say that since the unit was formed earlier this year, that unit has taken no one to jail.
Wow.
They have taken people to the crisis center. They've taken them to Grady. They've taken them to the facilities that are designed to help them and to get them on the road to recovery. So I'm really, hats off to Chief Ramos for doing that, because she, kind of like what you said, she's been out in the community, she's listened and heard, and is responding with new policies and changes. And can you imagine if we had a system where you would go and talk to someone and they'd say, nah.
Wow.
I mean, and so that's not how it's supposed to work, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be you come and talk to people in power, they listen, and you find some way to move forward.
Some way to move forward. Yes. And that's all I was looking for when I had that conversation with him as well.
Yep.
The last time that I heard you speak about the unused land in DeKalb County, you said that it was 2% of the unused. What's the update on the percentage, and then have you come up with some new ideas on what we can do with that land?
Yeah, absolutely. So DeKalb County has been the bedroom of Atlanta for many, many decades, and during the suburban growth of Atlanta over the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. Basically, it got developed.
Okay.
You know, there's suburbs, there's neighborhoods, there are shopping centers, strip malls, there's now abandoned lots, industrial areas. So at this point, we have done the land analysis of all of DeKalb County. You're right, about 2% is undeveloped. It's mostly wooded, forested area. Most of it is in South DeKalb and East DeKalb. So kind of the closer you get to Atlanta, the more developed it is.
Right.
So the issue that we deal with in government is something called, it's just private property rights. It's entitlement. And so if the zoning of a piece of land says you can build something on it, then you can build something on it, right? The only way commissioners have the ability to sort of change that is if someone comes to us and say, well, I want to have a different land use. Say I want to take a piece of land that is zoned for just single family homes, and now I want to do something that's like mixed use,
Right.
or industrial, or commercial. They have to come to the Board of Commissioners, Community Council, the Planning Commission, all citizen appointees. They have to make their case and lay out all the conditions and the site plans and things they want to do. So we're a little limited. Like, we can't force someone to take a piece of land and then not develop it.
Right.
Right. Because if they have the rights to develop it, they can do it. And the issue right now is that in suburban development, like, just think about like a cookie cutter cul-de-sac. You know, when you develop that piece of land, you clear cut 90% of it, generally speaking, right? There's little buffer areas usually. But for the most part, you clear cut it, you scrape the land, you basically destroy the earth. And you put something back new, you know, little tiny trees, little turf, you know, just, you know, just a development, right? And so what we want to do is incentivize conservation. So we have created what's called the Village Conservation District model. We'll be introducing a text amendment into our zoning code next year that will create the incentive for developers to preserve a minimum of 50% of the land up to 80%.
Okay.
And basically what we do is we either transfer development rights, or we allow them to take a development that would be 90% and what we call clustering it into sort of a smaller footprint to preserve more acreage.
Okay.
And that acreage can be just keep the trees and the forest as it is. Do some walking trails, something like that. It could be creating a farm. Or a garden space.
That's a great incentive.
Or a town green, a village green. And the general tagline is we want a village at the heart of every neighborhood. We do believe that if we can get back to kind of an ancient, you know, sort of fundamental idea of how we build community, and that's through the villages.
The village,
I mean, we as a species have evolved, you know, over hundreds of thousands of years, but we've only really lived in sort of civilization for 10,000 years, right? And for most of that time, humans lived in villages between 20 and 100 people. And so what we're not left with in DeKalb is this suburban spreading out where you know your next door neighbor, maybe across the street, but it's so hard to come together and actually be in community. And so we want to create a village at the heart of every neighborhood where people can come and there'll be intergenerational housing, growing food, after school programs, early learning programs, whatever the community desires, create that place where they can, you know, walk to it, bike to it, easily get to it. We have I feel there's so much promise in it when it comes to our seniors, because we have so many seniors who live in DeKalb, who live in single family homes that may be too big for them, and they're trying to downsize. We have a loneliness epidemic where seniors are very isolated, and the issue right now is the seniors have no place to downsize into.
Oh, wow.
And we got young families and people who are kind of looking for their first home. They have no place to buy. Because there's not there's not new housing being built, and so we have this market that's imbalanced. And so what we want to do is create more tiny homes, cottage homes, pocket neighborhoods, intergenerational housing, aging in place housing, so that we can create more of that where seniors are in the mix, they have affordable, attainable housing, they can stay in their own neighborhood, and then we're actually building community in neighborhoods that support the community fabric. And keep people from being isolated and bringing them together.
Man, that is a perfect
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal plan from how it sounds. That's exactly what's needed. I was actually going to ask you about that next. It was a perfect segue. And then, along with the tiny homes and the new developments that are being built, how do we make it to where there's no discrimination against those loans for everybody to get?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that, quite frankly, we, DeKalb, and other counties have been in a lawsuit with banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. The sad thing is that the court system, which under the last couple of years, going back to when Donald Trump was president, he appointed hundreds of judges to the appeals courts and the Supreme Court, of course. And we just lost a big case at the Circuit Court of Appeals that was going to really put the banks liable for a lot of the discrimination that took place over the last several years. And we lost that case. And so now we're kind of being advised to sort of settle that lawsuit because it doesn't look like we're going to win it.
As a whole?
As a whole.
Okay.
Yeah, like individual counties are now sort of saying, are we going to keep going forward?
Yeah.
Because if we lose, then we potentially have to pay for the bank's attorney's fees.
Right.
So this is like a really awkward and unfortunate position to be in, where the governments have seen that we have had housing discrimination by banks and lending practices in our county of our constituents, and we are representing them, but the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals with more conservative justices have said, well, the banks, what they did, maybe it technically was allowed or is technically constitutional, when really the evidence is there that depending on if you were in a zip code in South DeKalb, your interest rates were higher, the subprimes were more likely to be given to those demographics, and it ended up being black and brown. But if you go to the wealthier parts of the county, not a problem. Oh, they had no issue there. So it's just a fundamental fairness. So I don't know if there's something we can do about that right now. That's something that's kind of like a federal banking and we need like federal legislation. The one thing that we can do though is one, Wells Fargo is in that, and one of the things that constituents have been pushing us to is to end our banking with Wells Fargo. So DeKalb County, our bank account, where we have our $1.7 billion budget, and all the transactions, it's Wells Fargo. And Wells Fargo, and then previously they merged like Wachovia or whatever, all the banks, merge and create bigger banks. They discriminated. And so there is a desire to drop Wells Fargo, go to a local bank that hasn't been part of that discrimination. So that would be a good move, just to say, sorry, big banks, you've screwed over our constituents for too long. We're going to take our business elsewhere. We have the power just to choose our bank. So that's number one. Number two, we just have to create our own programs for housing. And I know Commissioner Lorraine Cochran-Johnson has been working with Operation Hope and several of the neighborhood stabilization organizations, and I believe they've done close to $5 million of loan support for first-time home buyers in South DeKalb. So we just have to create programs that we can't make up for what happened in the past, but for future home buyers and those who otherwise wouldn't qualify for some of those loans because of what happened in the past, we're giving them a fairer, more equitable entry into getting a loan that is reasonable. Now, of course, what's happening right now is the interest rates are high, mortgage rates are high, so everyone's struggling to pay a mortgage or to get a new home because interest rates are 3-4% higher than they were, and that's hundreds of thousands. So it's tough. I'm hoping that we can get the interest rates down, the mortgage rates will come down a little bit. I do believe, though, if we can create more affordable, attainable housing, different sizes, that's why the tiny homes and the cottage homes are so important, because we actually don't have enough mixed, what's called missing middle housing. So everything that's being built right now in DeKalb, for the most part, is luxury townhomes. That's going to be $500,000 and above, depending on what part of the county you're living in. Or it's just McMansions. It's infill. Someone's tearing down a 1,000 square foot home that was built in the 1940s and putting up a 4,000 square foot home. And so we're seeing this pressure where this small home probably only really valued at a reasonable amount is actually selling for higher because the land is so valuable. And then what's happening is because that land is more valuable, someone who lives 4 doors down, and it's usually a fixed income senior or someone who's been there for a while, all of a sudden their property values go up. Property values go up, their property taxes go up. And if you're fixed income, Social Security, and your property taxes go up by $2,000, right? I mean, that's like a month basically, or more of someone on a Social Security check. So we've got to create more of those protections for our legacy residents to either get higher exemptions or to just give themselves the ability to downsize, to have more attainable housing, you know, in their own neighborhoods.
Those are 2 great options. You know, the exemptions and giving them options to downsize. That's great. Love that. Yeah, because it's very needed. Very, very much needed. I wanted to ask you about your marketing. Like, I'm hearing your platform, but I didn't hear it before today. And I'm like I told you, I'm in media. I work in Atlanta, I work in DeKalb, I'm at all the hot spots. I'm with the radio station, B103. I want to know why I'm not receiving texts and emails about everything you're doing. I'm a DeKalb County resident. I want to know.
Are you in my district?
I'm in your district.
Where are you?
I'm off of exit 62 off of 20. Was it Fayetteville, Flat Shoals?
So my district is like a little jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
And so I think right there, you might be in Lorraine's.
I'm on the line though. I'm on the line for sure. I got into a car accident actually.
No.
And then Fulton County came. They was like, not my district. DeKalb County Police came. Not my district. Fulton County came back, and it was like I was sitting at the Chevron gas station for like an hour and a half waiting for the right police district to come. So.
Oh, that's crazy.
But I'm DeKalb.
Well, so next year is my re-election year. Okay. All the voters are going to be hearing a lot from me, and we're getting ready to kick off our campaign.
Definitely.
So, but the thing that I will say about government is we probably don't like brag on ourselves enough.
Yes.
Sometimes you just kind of like do the work.
I understand.
Like we're here in this building, just in the little auditorium downstairs every Tuesday, and like sometimes there's like flashes, like we'll do a ribbon cutting. Or like we were at the Kensington MARTA station last week, turning some dirt because we're doing a new housing project at the Kensington MARTA station. So we'll do like little things like that. Right. But if you come to our meetings, we're there all 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. all day, and there's like 100 things that we could talk about. Yeah. And sometimes I would say that we probably put more money and resources and time into just doing the work,
than
and into the like let's go out there and brag on ourselves. And I would say it's kind of designed that way because in a way, like there's a time for bragging and a time for promotions and there's a time for doing the work. And maybe for me, I'm probably more like I ran for election in 2020. I got elected. I started in 2021. And then, so let me just do the best I can for 3 years. And then when it comes to 2024, I'll go out and tell everyone what I did. And hopefully they say, you did a good job. We'll vote for you again. And then we'll give you another, 4 years.
Another 4 years.
So you're probably hearing more about me January through May of next year.
Right.
You're definitely a doer.
Yard signs, text messages. I'll be on the Instagram.
I'm proud to be in your district.
Okay,
I'm hearing everything that you're doing for the first time, and I love it. I love it, and I cannot wait for you to be more publicized. I want everybody in the district to be as proud of you as I am.
Yeah. All right. We'll work on that together.
Yes, definitely.
We'll do some collabs.
Definitely, we'll do some collabs then, because that's what I do.
Here we are.
This be the perfect time to talk about the pipe situation.
Oh, well, as a DeKalb resident, I'm a homeowner, and I had 3 burst pipes this past winter.
In your home?
In my home. They were copper pipes. Rotor came out. I'm talking about water everywhere. Different, under the cement, just, it's nothing that I could assess. They had to come in and repipe everything. But they were saying, Rotor was saying that they're having a lot going on, a lot of these pipes bursting in DeKalb County because of some water additive that they added recently in the past 3 to 5 years. And they said they were replacing nothing but these copper pipes. Now, the issue that I'm having, because at the time I had home insurance, now I don't. They dropped me because of the burst pipes. Now I'm having issue finding homeowners insurance for my home.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because of the burst pipes. Everywhere I go, they say, oh, well, based on these recent claims, we can't, give you any homeowners insurance. So, as a DeKalb resident, is there anything, like, what could I do in this situation?
So, so you're getting on to a couple of things that are interconnected. So, I'm guessing, and this is the case for most folks who buy a home in DeKalb, is there's not usually an inspection of the pipes.
Underneath the cement. Though.
Exactly, like the actual lines from the house to the meter, right? Because so the county's position generally is like, if you're anything from the meter to the street is our problem, right? Like we're gonna and we're spending almost $1 billion over the next 8 years just to replace the sewer pipes and the water pipes. And it's because basically some of these pipes haven't been replaced since the 1940s. All right, so that's like on the street. So like if you go down like Ponce right now in North Decatur, DeKalb Industrial, 2 lanes are closed. There's huge trenches out there. We're doing a major water line replacement. There's been sewer overflows into the South River, like raw sewage getting, so there's so much of that happening right now. Now, what we've also discovered is about 30% of the sewer overflows are because there's stormwater intrusion because of leaky pipes at individual property homes. So one of the things that we're realizing is that when homes are being sold, there's not disclosing from the realtors or the sellers about, well, you might actually have leaky pipes. And the issue is that like the county can't pay for someone's private water pipes, right? That's just because if we did that, then we'd have to, it'd be like $5 billion.
It'd add up quick.
My water bill went up to $444.
Yeah, because you had leaks
because of the burst pipes.
Yeah. And so I'm really sorry that's happening. I hadn't heard about the home insurance not covering it. So I would hope that if you had shown that you fixed it, they would say, okay, the problem's solved.
Well,
so
it happened 3 times, so I think they used the occurrences against me.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Well, I'll look into that because I don't think that to me doesn't seem fair.
At all.
One of the things that we're considering doing is that if creating a new ordinance that, in essence, when a home is sold or any property is sold, there has to be some certification that the pipes are
checked.
Disclosed. Yeah, because what we're finding, and you're in other situations, that people buy a home and the inspectors go through and there's no mold or there's no rats. There's all these like standard home inspection stuff, but they're not inspecting the pipes underground.
Right.
And that's just a simple, like they actually have a little what's called a CCTV camera. They can literally put a little probe with a little camera down the pipes, and they can look to see if there's any pipes. They can do what's called the smoke test. They can put some smoke down in there and see if it like floats up through the ground. Like it'll literally permeate from the ground above, and they can see, there's a leak here, right? So that's something that it's a tough policy, because what it will end up meaning is that if you are trying to sell your home, you gotta disclose it, and usually what's probably going to happen is a buyer is going to say, well, I want you to fix it, or I want you to discount my purchase price so that I can fix it.
Somebody's going to have to eat that cost.
And we're talking, I mean, these things are, I don't know how much yours cost, but I mean, $10,000 to $15,000 is about the range for getting someone to come in and dig out your front yard to fix your pipes, right? Like that's just how much it costs. So, in the grand scheme of things, if you're trying to sell your home for $200,000 to $400,000, which is sort of the average home price in DeKalb, $10,000 isn't that much, but it adds up, right? So we're going to be looking at that policy. We do have a program, what's called the Care and Conserve program. So we've put aside $5 million of American Rescue Plan money. So basically, we do encounter homeowners who have no money, who are fixed income seniors, low income, and they just will never have the money to fix pipes. And so if they qualify, they can apply for the programs and we'll pay for it. So that's one provision that's just designed to create a little bit of a safety net for those who otherwise couldn't afford it.
And that's currently available to the public? It
is, yeah. Okay. And honestly, like it has people, I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I think we still have like $4.5 million. So for whatever reason, either people don't know about it or they're not applying for it.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to get the word out. It basically is if you're in like 50% average median income or below, you qualify.
Okay.
Perfect. It's the perfect way to get the word out, and she's the perfect person to tell it to.
It's the DeKalb Care and Conserve program. You can Google that, and it should show up on the Watershed website.
All right, DeKalb Care and Conserve program.
Perfect. All right, so I wanted to ask you about, I seen a video where you said that back in the 70s, that's when the first panels were put on the government building.
Oh yeah, solar panels.
Yes, solar panels.
The White House.
The White House, yes.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter.
Yes, that's what it was. You put them on there. And when you asked the room how many have been put since then, it baffled them that it was 0.
Yeah.
And since then, has there been any progress made, and what is the progress in the future from now?
Okay, so yes, so I made the point back on Earth Day earlier this year with one of our quiz items, because people are installing solar panels all over.
I'm seeing them.
Right? I mean, it is becoming ubiquitous, but for some reason, DeKalb County has not installed any solar panels on our government buildings. And so what we passed earlier this year, I think it was August, the Board of Commissioners unanimously passed a resolution calling for a solar RFP, which just means we're putting a bid out for any solar company to come in and give us a proposal to do solar on the Maloof building here, at our watershed treatment plants, at Polebridge, where we have 300 acres, our parking lots. I mean, literally, if you look at like a satellite of all of our government buildings and properties, we literally could put thousands of solar panels on it. We did do a very high level analysis a few years ago, and just based on the energy savings, just saving money on our power bill, we could literally deliver $10 million of revenue every few years over the next 25 years. So we would save money and we would make money, because we'd actually be in some cases we'd be selling the power back, right? So there's just this interesting, it's like we got plenty of sunlight, plenty of rooftops and parking lots. So I'm hoping that the purchasing department, again, I'm not in charge of the government, I'm just a commissioner.
No, understood.
So we have directed the administration and the purchasing department to do an RFP. And so hopefully that'll be done by the end of this year, and they'll put a bid out on the street, as they call it. And I hope that we'll get lots of proposals, because right now there's no reason why we shouldn't invest in solar.
No reason at all.
Especially for government buildings, because this Maloof building was built in the 80s, so 50 years ago, and it'll be here for another 50 years.
Absolutely.
So when you talk about a government asset, a public asset, we're talking about a school, a park, a watershed treatment plant, that will be there forever.
Yeah.
So it totally makes sense for us to go ahead and just embed a clean energy source that really, once you install the basic infrastructure of solar, as years go by, solar panels get better. Like the technology, so when so here's the fun fact.
Okay.
So NASA really did the first solar panels, and it was for space. Okay, but when Jimmy Carter did solar panels, it wasn't like the photovoltaic kind. It actually was a mirror. It was a parabolic mirror that heated up. It had the sunlight concentrate the sun rays heat into this little tube that had oil in it.
Oh.
And it heated the oil up. The oil would run through a steam engine that would boil water.
Oh, wow.
And the steam would turn a turbine to create energy.
Oh, wow.
So very
We've
old
come a long
fashioned.
way.
I mean, that's steam engine is like 100-year-old plus technology.
Right.
So a very rudimentary technology.
Yeah.
Right.
The
He
new
was onto something.
the new solar panels literally are taking photons, and at that molecular level are creating energy without burning anything, right, or heating anything up. So what's really exciting is solar panels are getting more efficient, to the point now where you got folks saying we're going to make shingles, solar panels, out of shingles. My favorite one that's come up, the new technology that they're exploring, is window glazing.
Oh, wow.
So they think
That's
that
so
by miniaturizing some of the solar technology, you could look at a window. Every window in a building could be like a little mini solar panel.
Solar panel, yeah.
So the technology is there. So once you
That's
build the
amazing.
electrical infrastructure and the power conduits and everything, literally, if a new technology comes online 10 years from now, you just replace the panel. You just take the old panel off, put a new one on.
Yeah.
It's 25% more efficient. So that's number one. Now, if you see right here, so notice something about these lights. You see these lights, these are fluorescent lights.
Right.
So like years ago, that was the thing. Oh, fluorescent lights, those are energy efficient. Those are the best time, right? Not anymore. LED lights, right? I think that's what these are LED lights.
Yeah.
Right? All right, LED lights, 1/10 of the power of a normal light.
Wow.
Right.
Like this. So what we just approved a contract on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
And it is replacing every light bulb in this building with LED lights. Every single light.
That's gonna save.
It's going to cost about $180,000. It'll pay for itself in 1 year,
100%.
just by having a lower power bill. And then of course after that we keep
The overage.
we just keep that power bill low.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of like clean energy and energy efficiency is like you can spend capital infrastructure money to install and build something, but operationally over the next 10, 20, 30 years, it will pay for itself.
Right.
It runs on all the pipe.
And that operational cost is so important because, getting back to Police Athletic League. So, we're using $2 million of American Rescue Plan money that is one-time money for Police Athletic League programs. But what happens when that money runs out? All right, $2 million annual. Where's that going to come from, right? And if we're talking about clean energy and energy efficiency, saving the county tens of millions of dollars, operationally every single year in our budget, that means we have the ability, the capacity in our budget to invest in other priorities.
Of course, yes, I love that.
And there's a lot of, I'm telling you, there is never enough money to do everything that we need to do.
Yeah.
So I in my heart, I believe that it's good for the environment. So it's a win-win for green,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Green for the money,
Yeah.
green for the earth.
Yeah.
So this is a win-win. If you care about saving money, I talk to my conservative, my Republican friends out there. We got there's some Republicans out there in DeKalb, and they're like, "Well, I don't believe in climate change," and who cares about global warming? It's a hoax. I'm like, well, you care about saving money, right? Oh yeah, I'm a fiscal conservative. Oh well, if you invest in solar energy, you save tens of millions. Oh, okay, I'm interested in that right there.
Sometimes you gotta take the back door, not the front door.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So common ground, conservatives, liberals, environmentalists, it doesn't matter. Let's save money, protect our environment, clean up our air, clean up our water.
Right.
It's going to create a better world for everybody.
100% agreed.
Me too.
This has been a great conversation. I want to end it with 3 gifts.
Okay.
So first, from Kings and Gents Bow Tie, I want you to pick out the bow tie that stands out the most to you.
Very nice selection.
Okay. That immediately stands out to me. Probably the red one.
This one right here?
Yeah, because I usually wear my red sneakers to commission. I got my Converse on today, my basketball
I see.
shoes.
There you go.
But yeah, probably the red one.
And this is yours. This red one is
It's
going
velvet,
to
very
Commissioner
nice
Ted
quality.
Terry.
All right.
Yeah, this
Thank
is
you very
yours.
much. I appreciate that.
And then
very
also
good.
from poloshirt.com, they wanted you to also pick out one from them as well. So which shirt stands out to you the most?
Okay. Probably orange.
Look at
And that's only because I went to the University of Florida.
I see. I
Yeah,
see.
so I know I'm in Georgia, but I am a Gator, like
We won't
got
hold
you.
it
from
against
college.
Well, I'm
you.
gonna just lightly pass this to you. And then
Awesome, thank you.
I saw you gazing at the award that I won. Shout out to the
Yeah.
Bolden Awards for giving me the Majestic Award. And I actually
Beautiful,
talked to the CEO this morning, and he sent me this recording to play for you.
Hey, Commissioner Terry, this is Deontay Bolden, CEO and founder of Deontay Bolden Productions, filmmaker here, playwright, award-winning author, but I'm also the CEO and founder of the Bolden Awards. The Bolden Awards is an amazing award show that debuted in May of 2023, where we say that we love to honor those who are making bold moves while achieving greatness, where boldness meets greatness. I think this award show is significant and needed in our communities because so many people have overcome some major milestones in their lives, and some people are often overlooked, and we want to be a place to be able to say, you know what, if they can do it, then I can do it. And we want to inspire people and let people know that you can overcome anything in life. A lot of times we are our greatest enemies because we think because of the things that we have went through in life or obstacles that stand in our way have stopped us, but we want to celebrate the wins course, you have a story as well where Marcus, aka Vigilante, has told me so much about you, and I was like, you know what, this man would make a wonderful honoree. So I would love to meet you. I think we had plans before, but I think something came up. You know, we all have busy schedules, but would love to meet you and talk to you more about the Bolden Awards. I'm quite sure Marcus is going to tell you more about this amazing award show that changed so many lives that night. People are still talking about the Bolden Awards to this day, and I can't wait for the second one that's coming up. But would love to just sit down and talk with you, know more about your story. I would love to honor a politician because I feel like so many of you all are doing so much in our communities to make sure that we have what we need to be successful and to push forward and to live better lives. So great, you know, chatting with you over this. I said I would send a voice message, and I can't wait to meet you. Look out for the Bolden Awards.
Yeah, there it is.
Connect us, please.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, this has been a great conversation. I want to thank you
definitely
again for
enjoyed
sitting
it.
down with us, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, and so thank you for working so hard for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it.
All right. Did you have anything else you want to say?
No, but we're definitely going to tap in with each other about marketing because there is a lot of DeKalb residents that need to know what you're doing on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Because I want to know, because I want to be a resident.
Okay, good. All right. We'll make sure we're connected, and
Definitely.
anything you need, you know, I'm your commissioner.
Yes, you are.
All right, and with that being said, we are out. Thank you all for joining us. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of the High Value Sigma Mill. I'm joined here with Ms. Kia Waters and also Commissioner Ted. And thank you. And until next time.